Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1529. The topic is nutrition and the title is Steps for a 12-Week Transformation. Now, I'm sure that got someone's attention. What I want to do today is talk about, I'm actually going to give you all the steps that you should do, nutrition and training-wise, for a common way that 12-week transformations are structured. You'll see this advertised all over social media with before and after photos and all this stuff. This is the format that is, I know multiple people that use this. And what happens essentially is the people who are successful, we see their before and after photos. The people who are not, we do not see. And we never hear about them, and we don't know that they exist. We don't know that it didn't work for some people. So I want to read through it. Now, if you have any questions, you can email me. If you want a breakdown of this, you can email me. My email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. But I'll give you step by step of a common way that 12-week transformations are managed in when you're talking about when you see that, like before and after photos, a coach, and they have 500,000 followers, and they work with thousands of people. They do not work with them on a one-on-one basis. It's just logistically common sense that you can't work with 2,000 people one-on-one. How? There's not enough hours in the day, week, month to communicate with 2,000 people one-on-one. So it's not one-on-one. It's a calculation of a process. So I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you an example. So here it is. Before the 12-week transformation even starts, you have some work to do. Yes, this is the part they never tell you about, but this is the truth of it, is you have to do a 7-day food journal. Now, to clarify, this is actually only going to be effective if the person's problem of why they're overweight is if they've been overeating or they're inconsistent, meaning they sometimes overeat, sometimes undereat. But it will not, 100% will not help anyone who is undereating, and that's why they have body fat. So you can actually not be lean because you're not eating enough. That sounds crazy pants, I'm sure, but it's just truth. If you listen to podcast 1344, it's a nutrition podcast titled Balancing the Books. And that kind of explains why undereating causes the body to retain body fat. When you would think that undereating helps promote fat loss, it actually fights fat loss. It actually prevents fat loss. So listen to that podcast. Now, you can find all of our podcasts on our website, www.brutalirongym.com, and there's steps there to find super old ones, but the podcast is on the website. Okay, listen to that. Now, if your problem is overeating or inconsistent eating, then this will be very helpful. If you're not sure if you're any of the eatings, overeating, undereating, inconsistent eating, whatever it might be, when you do your 7-day food journal, you're going to calculate the average calories per day. If your average calories per day is less than your kind of lean body weight, when you would say okay, I might weigh 170, but I'd like to weigh around 140, 150. I think I'd feel comfortable around 140, 150. Not like I weigh 170, man, it'd be awesome to get back down to 110 that I was when I was in 9th grade. No. So let's look at a weight that we're okay, I would be pretty happy with that weight. If you take that weight times 10, that would give you a daily number of calories. So let's say it's 130 pounds. So it'd be 1,300 calories. So body weight times 10. If it's 140 pounds, it would be 1,400 calories. So if your caloric average per day of the 7-day journal is your ideal kind of body weight that you want to get to times 10, and you're under that, then you're under eating, and this will not be effective for you. You actually need to start eating more. Now, I don't want you to feel like, oh crap, then I get nothing. The whole podcast is for overeaters. What do I do if I'm undereating? Well, we do have a podcast for that. So we have podcast 1428 is a nutrition podcast titled How Undereating Shows Itself. So that way you would know and be like, oh yeah, I'm experiencing all those things. I must be undereating. And then we also have podcast 1099, which is a nutrition podcast titled How to Increase Calories If You've Been Under-Eating. So if under-eating is your problem, those are your podcasts. Okay? Listen to those, and it'll tell you step by step of what you should do. Now, if your problem is overeating or inconsistent eating, then today's podcast is an example of what a 12-week transformation would be. So before you even start the 12 weeks, you take a week and you do a 7-day food journal on a nutrition tracking app. If you say, well, I don't want to use a nutrition tracking app, then you don't get to do a 12-week transformation when you look at what you see on Instagram and social media and stuff. So they all use nutrition tracking apps. Or they use some kind of point system or something that tracks calories. Now, you have to learn their system just as much as you would have to learn a nutrition tracking app. So you might as well just learn the freaking app because you're going to use apps for the rest of your life, not points for the rest of your life. So it's much more applicable to long-term benefit. What you would do is you would track what you eat for a week. Most people are going to adjust what they eat to try to look good rather than actually eat what they normally eat. But the benefit of 7 days is you might be able to do that for the first 2 or 3 days, but then your normal habits start to show themselves, and by the end of it, you'll see what you actually really do. So that's why it's 7 days, not 2 days or 3 days. But a 7-day food journal, you would find your average caloric intake and your average protein intake. Protein is in grams, calories is in calories. You would find the average for that week. Now, in this 12-week transformation, the first week, you would take your calorie average from the 7-day food journal. You would reduce that average by 100. So if you found an average of 1,400 calories a day, you would reduce that to 1,300. Or if you found an average of 1,950 calories per day, you'd reduce that by 100 to 1,850. So you reduce it by 100. And then you aim for plus or minus 10% of that number every day. So if you're at, say your average adjustment leads to 1,800. So that means that you would adjust by, let me see here, 180 calories plus or minus. So that would be 1,620 calories up to 1,980. So pretty big window. But if you're new to tracking, that's not going to be that big because you're going to likely have trouble trying to fit in there. But the idea is that if you aim for the number of 1,800, you're not going to hit that number exactly every single day. You might get 1,790 one day and feel like a loser because you didn't hit 1,800, but 10 calories means absolutely nothing. So the idea of the 10% range is that way you have a way to hit within the range and say, yeah, I had a good day, rather than trying to hit to an exact number, which is damn near impossible to do every single day. So you have your 7-day calorie average that you started with, minus 100, and then you have plus or minus 10%. That's how you set up your calories for week 1. Week 1 protein, you take the average that you have. We would like to get to your lean ideal kind of body weight as the number of grams per day. So if your target body weight was 130 grams, we would like to get you to 130 grams a day. But you could be way off from that. So you want to adjust by 10% at the first week. So what this means is if my lean ideal body weight was 130 pounds, I would aim for 130 grams of protein. But maybe my average intake right now is only 80 grams. 80 grams is 60% of 130. So your next goal would be 10% higher, which is 70%, and that's 91 grams. And then again, you do the plus or minus 10%. So you would aim for roughly like 82 to 100 grams of protein. So that's a little challenging. You might have to rewind and replay everything I just said. But that's a typical way that somebody would set up the beginning week of a 12-week transformation. So calories is 100 less than what your 7-day journal average was, plus or minus 10%. Protein, you're going to take whatever you ended up with your average, figure out the percentage that it is of your total target, which is your body weight. So again, if I want to weigh 130, my target would be 130 grams. So whatever percentage you're at of that, try to go 10% higher. So if you're at 80%, try to go to 90. If you're at 63.4%, try to go to 73.4%. You just try to bump it up. Now, for the first week, you have to be adherent 5 out of 7 days to those numbers before you can move on. So if you don't get it right, if you don't get your calories and your protein right, at least 5 out of 7 days, you have to repeat week 1. If you do get your calories and protein right on at least 5 out of 7 days, you can move on to week 2. Week 2 is you reduce your calories again by 100, and you adjust your protein up again by 10%, but you stop whenever you're at 100% of what your target is. Okay? Now again, on week 2, you have to be 5 out of 7 days compliant before you can move to week 3. If you're not, repeat week 2. If you are, move to week 3. Week 3, you reduce calories again by 100, and you move the protein up again by 10%. But again, you stop if you're at, matching the lean body weight, desired body weight for protein. Okay? Then weeks 4, 5, and 6, you stay at week 3 numbers. So the numbers you're at for week 3, you stay at them for weeks 4, 5, and 6. Then, week 7, if you've been compliant and you've been matching 5 out of 7 days, you make another adjustment of 100 calories less and 10% protein more. And you hold those numbers for weeks 7, 8, and 9. Then, weeks 10, 11, and 12, if you're happy where you are, you've seen some progress, you just keep the numbers you have. If you still want to lose a little bit more, then you go ahead and make another 100 calorie drop and another 10% increase if there's still room to increase your protein. Okay? Now, with that, they have activity. Is you have to add activity to whatever your baseline of activity is now. Whatever you're doing now, you have to add more. Weeks 1, 2, and 3, you have to add an additional of 60 minutes of movement per week above your baseline. Whatever you normally do now, you have to add 60 minutes more per week. Now, if that's weight training, circuit style training, like where you have short rest and you're moving a lot of movements, a lot of repetitions, you're moving a lot, awesome, that's ideal. But it doesn't really matter what you do. You can do for walks, you can go swimming, you can ride a bike upside down, whatever it might be, whatever you want to do. You just have to do 60 minutes of movement more per week than whatever you've been doing before you started the 12-week transformation. Weeks 4, 5, and 6, you have to add an additional 15 minutes of movement. So it's now 75 minutes. Weeks 7, 8, and 9, you have to add an additional 15 minutes. So it's now 90. Then weeks 10, 11, 12, you have to add an additional 15 minutes, which is 105. 105 minutes per week above your baseline. This is common. This is something you will see variations of, but this is something that a lot of 12-week transformations are set up for. You would take your photo before you start that 7-day food journal. So you actually take the photo before the week before the 12-week transformation actually starts. So you take your photo, then you do a 7-day food journal to find your average calorie intake and your average protein intake. And then you start your 12-week transformation and you take another photo at the end of the 12 weeks. That is a structure for a 12-week transformation. This is something that you can give to thousands of people, and I don't know the percentage, maybe half, maybe 2/3 might get benefit from this, but there's a 1/3 to half that will have absolutely crap results from this, have horrible energy crashes, hate life, but we never see those people. We never hear about those people. No one publishes when their stuff doesn't go well, right? So the 12-week transformations and stuff you see online, you're only seeing the most successful people. You're not seeing all of the people. Does that make sense? So if you want to do a 12-week transformation, right there it is. I'll save you money. Don't pay anybody. Literally, this is step by step by step of what a very common approach to a 12-week transformation is. You don't have to pay anything. Just do it. I am not telling you that it'll work, and neither should they. It'll work for most people? Sure. Is it going to work for everyone? Hell no. Not going to happen. And anybody who tells you otherwise, completely full of shit. Completely. They just want your money. So they'll say, oh, it's been proven, it's worked for thousands of people. Yeah, but what about the other thousands that it didn't work for? No one's going to 100% guarantee anything. They might say, oh, you get your money back. Yeah, but then there's a bunch of stipulations, and remember how I said you have to be 5 out of 7 days compliant? Well, if you miss any of the compliances numbers, you don't get any of your money back. So there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of fine print to all these things. So there's a little spoiler alert for all that. But if you're looking for a 12-week transformation that you want to start in, January 1st, this is it. Try it. If you want to do it this way, go for it. I don't believe this is the best way to do it, which is why I don't sell this type of stuff. Because it's just a mass. Like, if I have to give it to 1,000 people, but I don't have any clue about the thousands of people, I don't know anything about them, then this is a format. But I don't like that. I don't like saying, okay, I want to give information to 1,000 people, and I'm happy if only 500 are happy. No, that's depressing. That's sad. Because I know how to help each individual 1,000 people. I know how to do that. So it's a struggle between wanting to help a lot of people versus how many I can actually help one-on-one. That is a challenge that I honestly struggle with all the time. Do I just mass produce information because I do know how to help a lot of people, but it doesn't work with everybody and a lot of people are left unhappy? That's sad. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that emotion. So I tend to focus more on one-on-one stuff because then I know I can actually give the person exactly what they need. But if you're looking for a 12-week transformation, this is it. It's totally free. It's 100% a variation of whatever you would find online for a lot of money. Okay? If you have any questions, if you want this as like a template, you want to see what it looks like, if you had trouble writing it all down, just shoot me an email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. But I wish you the best of luck. If you're trying for a transformation, you can try stuff like this, but eventually you're going to need a little more detail. So maybe you do something like this, you lose 20, 30 pounds, whatever it may be. You're going to then eventually need to learn how to hold that off. But if you want a quick hit, something that might work instantly for you, try this. And then when you want to hold on to it, or if you struggle to hold on to it, reach out. And again, our email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. Okay, there you go. Steps for a 12-week transformation, totally for free. Take photos before and after, so that way you can see for yourself what the difference was. I wish you the best luck. If you have any questions along the way, just shoot me an email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. Awesome. Well, if you like today's podcast, the podcast in general, please share it. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. When you share it, let people know that we answer their questions totally for free. Thank you to the people who support the podcast with donations. Podcast is well over $1,000 a year for hosting costs. I give an hour to it every day, and we're going to keep it for free. You can donate on our website at www.brutalirongym.com. There's options for a one-time donation, monthly donation, yearly donation. Even just $5 a month, it does add up, and it does help. Thank you to those. Actually, if you want to check out more information from us, you can find a lot more on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. We also post on Instagram every day, and I post a lot more on YouTube now, so check us out on those places. If you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything you want to know, let us know at our email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.